All right, so now we have this example, and we're going to use the zero product principle. So we'll do A. Now A is in the standard form, right? So it's a quadratic equation. You can see that it's quadratic because we have x squared minus 8x. Now the constant is 0, right? And so, but it's still a quadratic equation. So we're going to factor this. And so the only thing we do is factor out a greatest common factor here. So we're going to factor out x. And so this is going to give us x minus 8 is equal to 0. Now we have a product of two factors, right? So now what this means is if we use the zero product principle, this means either this factor is equal to 0, so either x is equal to 0, or x minus 8 is equal to 0. And so what that gives us is our solution set is going to be is x equals 0 and what? X equals 8. So that's going to be our solution. Okay? So that's our solution set. So either x is 8 or 0 will solve this. And we can go back and check. If you plug in 0, you get 0. If you plug in 8, what do you get? You get 8 times 8 is 64. You get 8 squared, which is 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. So it works, right? So again, always check your work to make sure you didn't make an arithmetic error along the way. Okay? Now what about this one? Now this one we have to kind of get into standard form. Right now it's not. So the first thing we're going to do is expand this and move everything around and put it in a quadratic form, right? Standard form. Okay. So we're going to multiply through. So that's going to be give me 4x squared minus 14x, right? And then I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Right? So if I add 12 here and add 12 here, this goes to 0 and I get 12 over on this side, right? Now it's in quadratic form. And so now I can look at factoring this. So the first thing I'm going to do is look for a greatest common factor, right? Go through the steps that we've learned before. And so the greatest common factor here is 2. So I'm going to factor out 2. So I get 2x squared minus 7x plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay? Now I can't do the zero product principle because this is just a constant. Okay, so let's see if I can factor this here. Right? And so here, let's see, I got 2x and 1. So 2x and x. And the factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. And this is positive, which means they're both negative or positive. But since this is negative, they're going to be both negative. So I've got a minus here and a minus here. Okay? So I need two factors that add up to negative 7. So the only two factors that add up to negative 7 is going to be negative 1 and negative 6. Now, the way I do it, obviously, it's either going to be this way or switched. So again, if I do 2x times 6, that gives me what? That gives me 12. Minus, negative 12 minus 1, that doesn't do it. So let's switch them around. So let's put this one here and that one there. And so now I get negative 2. Hold on a second. Oh, so maybe it's negative 2 and 3. So negative 6, so that's negative 2, and negative, so that gives a negative 8. So maybe it's 2 and 3. Let's do that one. 2, 3. So I get 6, negative 6, and negative 2. That doesn't work. So let's do this one. 3 and 2. So this gives me negative 4 and negative 3. So that works. All right, so I was wrong. So it turns out to be negative 3 minus 2. So if we look at this here, we get 2x squared, and then 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x, and then we get negative 3 times x is negative 3x, so that gives us our negative 7x, and then negative 3 and negative 2 gives us our positive 6. All right, so now this is all equal to 0. Now we can use the zero product principle. Okay? Now the zero product principle, again, says that either this is equal to 0, which it can't be, it's 2, so we're going to ignore the 2, it's just a constant. But the zero product principle says either this factor is 0 or this factor is 0. So that means, using the zero product principle, we can say that 2x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. And now if we solve for each one of those equations, we've got our value of x. So in this case here, when we solve for x here, we get what? X is equal to 3 halves. And over here, x is equal to 2. And so now our solution is that x is either 1 1/2 or 3 halves or 2. And that's our solution set. All right. Have a great day.